Hey everyone, this is Seth Kleeb, the host of Watch the Tech, and I have a fantastic guest for everyone today. I've got Quaid Walker here, the CEO of Bezel, with us. Hey Quaid, how's it going, man?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for doing it on a Saturday, too.
It's great. The office is empty and I got space to do it. It's perfect.
Well, let me tell everyone a little bit about your background and then Bezel too, and then you can help me fill in the rest. But
Sure.
you've been the CEO of Bezel for about 4.5 years. And Bezel itself, it is a watch marketplace for buying, selling. There's auctions as well. But really, you brand yourself as kind of a tech first, tech forward watch marketplace. And I can say that confidently because I looked at literally like all of your employees' LinkedIn's, and every single one of them in the description was like tech first watch marketplace. And before you founded Bezel with your co-founder, you were at Google for about 5 years, helping to design Google TV as well. But this is not the first company that you've ever founded.
Yeah, it's the first, I would consider it the first, very serious one, but I had a few stints in college, dropped out to start a company, ended up like having a very small exit to that business and then finished college and then went to Google. So didn't raise capital for the previous business. It was very much like two friends hacking on things. And it was a cool outcome for 19-year-olds, but I think our goals for Bezel
Okay.
were potentially larger.
Okay. Got it. This is the first like big kid
Big kid.
company.
Kid, employees, big offices,
Yes.
real deal versus two kids in a dorm room.
Okay. Yeah. Fair. 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 Awesome. Very cool. When I was describing Bezel, I don't do it as well as the pros. What did I miss that people need to know?
No, I think you got the gist. I mean, high level, the reason we started the company is we were watch collectors ourselves. I was at Google. I got obsessed with watches in that collecting journey. I was put on way too many wait lists, and I found myself in the secondary market, as many of us do. And I think I felt lost as a relatively new collector. The whole mentality of shopping the seller on competitive marketplaces, I didn't feel qualified to do that. I didn't know how to authenticate a watch, and so it just felt quite intimidating. And so we took inspiration from other verticals like sneakers, for example, with businesses like StockX and Goat. I had gone from like adjacently understanding sneakers to downloading Goat and then spending thousands of dollars a year on sneakers. And so the aha moment was, is there a way to grow the total addressable market in watches by making a brand that felt technologically forward and trusted on the secondary market? And so a big cornerstone for us is obviously we authenticate everything in house. So we call ourselves a technology business. That's because it's a lot of engineers from Google and Amazon in the same rooms of X auction house, X Rolex employees that are caring about watches. Every watch is authenticated in house. So it ships to us first, full rigorous authentication process, diagnostic testing, performance testing, making sure it's working the way it should in the right condition, and then making sure it's never reported stolen. And we transparently we reveal those numbers. So last year was like 34%. It's staggeringly high. And then every buyer is paired with a concierge. So as a person that cares about technology and products, a really fun challenge to solve because
Yeah.
you can't just build technology for selling watches. You have to be respectful of the fact that it's like the largest purchase anyone's ever made, aside from maybe a house or a car. People expect luxury. It's a very human industry, and so we have a
Yeah.
concierge in house to make sure that we are paying respect to that. But it's kind of the
Yeah.
gist.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm pretty interested in the Panerai by Tempos at the moment. I'll just leave it
Sweet.
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great watches. Well, let me start off with, if you don't mind, let me start off with the nerdiest question of all.
Sure.
The nerdiest question of all. So I have to know, what analytics platform do you use for your annual Bezel report? Because there's so much data in that thing, and
Yeah.
it is unusual for anything else that I've truly seen in watches.
Yeah. So it's a I wish that there was just like an analytics platform that just spit out the data. It's a lot of manual work. We run the reporting through Metabase. And so that is like what allows us to do a lot of the querying and engineering reports there. But a lot of it is also like, Chase, my co-founder and our CFO, and he's also our COO, but he just dives into the data and builds out like pretty insane models for everything that we're doing. And so it's a bit of an engineering side from a reporting perspective, but a lot of really manual digging and inspection. The cool thing is that Now at
Okay.
this stage, we have a lot of these queries written, and we know that we're going to be doing this more and more. It's gotten easier. But the first report, I think Chase probably spent 2 weeks just diving into the data and analyzing things. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is rich, but, yeah, you mentioned that stat on, like, the 34% of counterfeits caught, right? So they don't even make it onto the platform, but then what I really loved, my 2 favorite, was the top selling decades
Yep.
for you was 2020s and the 2010s. They were, like, neck and neck at, like, 38%, 39%.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That one didn't really surprise me. I maybe got a little bit more surprised by my second favorite stat, which was case size by sale. Everything was also kind of evenly split between 40 millimeter, 41 millimeter, and 42
Yep.
millimeter. I'd always kind of thought that a lot of watches were sold more in like a lot of like 36,
Yeah.
39, but they were like way lower on the percentage than the
Yeah.
40 to 42.
I think it's a lot of modern Rolex is given that now it's like the Submariners in the 41K size. There's a lot of Datejust 41. It's like I think that's made the 41 more of a prominent size. Like a massive chunk of what we sell is Rolex. And so as more and more 41 Rolexes get into production, they represent what it would be like the modern steel Rolex to own. Uh,
Mhm.
it just tends to flood the market a bit more. But I personally, like, my assumption would be always 40. I feel like 40 is kind of the sweet spot that given the fact that it's a largely male dominated industry, 40 tends to be like the modern sweet spot for a lot of buyers. Big, 36 too. I tend to like slightly smaller watches. I think 36 is like my 36 to 39 is like my sweet spot.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I think there's something charming and interesting about something a little bit older, a little bit smaller. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think people love the steel sports model 40s, 41s, 42s, and then 42 from like the Omega side. I think from a
Yeah.
Speedmaster perspective, we get a lot of those.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Bezel is like the perfect, and you were like the perfect guest for this show on Watch the Tech. Like your emphasis on the Bezel report and all of that data, and obviously like Watch the Tech.
Yeah.
Um, I have gone pretty deep on the rabbit hole of crystal diameter
Mm,
because for me, that actually really determines almost like fit better than case size
yeah.
for just the presence of the watch.
Yeah.
And so I've gone with like all of my watches and have kind of gone through and gotten the crystal diameter. And it
Yeah.
will surprise you
Totally.
because there will be watches that are sure it's 42 millimeters, but the bezel is so thick that the
Yeah.
crystal is like a 38
Yeah.
on a comparable 38 millimeter watch. So it's all very interchangeable. And so I feel like almost presence is almost more determined by like that crystal shape, how big the bezel is, and then everything else is just like kind of fitting around it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the lugs, whether like
Hmm.
for example, I love Submariners. It's like my favorite everyday watch. Even as my collection has grown, I move things in and out, but I always have like one or two Submariners in it.
Okay.
And I'm more of a fan, like, I'm wearing a 16610 because it's like my call it my watch I wear when I'm not wearing a watch because I like surf in it, I run in it. I went to a run right before this, and that's why I'm wearing it. Like, it's my daily driver. I prefer this case size way better than the more modern case size, even in the 40, like the kind of transitional era prior to the current Submariner. Just because the lugs are so big and the new ones that it wears like a chunkier, thicker. You can still get away with the older Submariners under a cuff if you want to like James Bond it up and go
Yes.
diving and then put a tux on. The current ones, they just feel clunky. And so I think that's what I learned a lot diving into watches. It's like it's not just about case size. Like if there's an integrated bracelet, like a Royal Oak, a 39 or 30, even 37 millimeter Royal Oak
Yeah.
wears almost like a Rolex Daytona 40, right? And so
I'm actually wearing mine right now. This is a
yeah,
37.
yeah,
And for me, like, with an AP, I can't go bigger.
yeah,
37 fits my wrist perfectly. Anything else, it like hangs over my wrist,
totally.
you know?
The watch you're
But
wearing,
I,
We sold one yesterday. I was playing with it. The bracelet is it's so cool, that textured bracelet it has.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is I actually almost never wear this light blue. Usually it's the dark one, but I
Yeah.
was feeling inspired
In
today. I
fact,
don't know
on
why.
both of them, it's just that, like, kind of blocky texture that matches the dial is so interesting to play with.
Yeah, the constellation, I think they call it. Yeah, it's kind of it's an added bonus to it. I'll actually hold this up to the camera a little bit. But yeah, they really
Yeah,
do something and it shines.
exactly. I think that's like I didn't notice that. I remember I've seen it multiple times at like an AP boutique, and then finally we sold a few of them this week, and it was fun to just see them actually in the metal
Yeah.
and get to experience it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally have fallen in love with rubber straps, like, the more that I wear watches over time.
Yeah.
Just they feel so great.
Oh, it's great,
They
and
really
we
do.
were talking about it too because I love an Oyster Flex. Love like it's like my favorite Rolex bracelet. And I'm obsessed with the offshore divers, but and the bracelet system is so great that you can pop them in and out.
Yeah.
But the case size is just like it's just for me too big. And I don't have a small wrist, but it just it feels like if I put it on and I feel like I'm like trading crypto in Miami. Like it feels like I'm like on the beach, like I'm trying to
Yes.
and plus they're like bold colors. But that case size that you're wearing is awesome. And so we were literally in the office joking about it. It's like if they made every offshore in that size, everyone would want one. They're amazing watches. I think it would be a great Aquanaut competitor.
Yeah.
In the sense that like you have a very impressive brand rubber strap beater that you can wear in the water.
Right.
I think it's a really special size for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's the only 37 I own as well. Otherwise, I go from as small as 35 and then up to, 42. That's
Yeah.
kinda my sweet spot, but
I've
it
owned
all just totally depends.
I've owned, the first AP I ever bought, I got it at retail, and it was a 15450, the 37 millimeter Royal Oak.
Well, I'm starting to get like a little bit of a sense of your taste in watches, but how would you describe your taste, especially as someone like yourself who has more access to watches than the average person, I would say?
Yeah, I think the access has certainly shaped the taste in a good way and a bad way. The
Okay.
good way is it's allowed me to obsess over things and then see them in person and be like, you know what? I didn't need to shell out the cash myself to own this and realize I didn't need this. I got to see it on a daily basis from the volume that we're doing. Like pretty much every modern watch I'm seeing on a daily basis come through the office. And then the bad sense is like now I'm obsessed with these things and I feel like every day I walk in and something's happening through our authentication lab and I'm like, I fear I need that now. And then I deciding like what I need to purchase or sell or whatever to make that work. But my taste generally, I think I like watches that fit into my general like aesthetic. I'm not the type of person that buys a watch because in isolation I think the watch is awesome. And so I tend to go for more muted things generally. Like I think the craziest watch in my collection is probably like a platinum Daytona, but it's like still super subtle. And at night I think people think I'm wearing a Panda and I think I like that. Like I think there's something quite cool about that. I've forayed into the what I would say like the ridiculousness. Like there was a period of time where I had a rose gold sun dust dial baguette hour mark Daytona and I thought I was like the man wearing it around.
That is just like a hop, skip, and a jump from like the Nicolas Cage Daytona.
Yeah, no, it just I wear it I would wear it around and it's like, I was talking to Jeremy Kirkland from Blammo about this on the pod, but it's like there's a certain thing where you see a watch and you're like, "That's an objectively beautiful watch," and then you put the watch on you and you're like, "Who am I to wear this watch? I look silly, like, this is not for me." And so that was very much one of those watches, and so now my collection is like older Royal Oaks, older Daytonas, a few modern Rolex, like things like that. I think, nice and conservative pieces that I think still stand out and the watch people in the world know what they are, but they're
Right.
more like function than they are, anything else at this stage.
Yeah, yeah, and it feels like for you, they fit just naturally, like, how you dress, who you are as a person.
Yeah, and I think the luxury of the job that I have is actually there's only one watch in my collection that I will not get rid of. all the other watches, I mean, for any authorized dealer that I get the watches on, like earmuffs, I guess at this stage, but anything I have in my collection, I think like I'm not like I move in and out of, and I think the luxury of the platform that we've started is it allows for retail folks like myself to have liquidity at full market value from the watches that we own. And so that's allowed me to experience wearing my watches in my personal collection in a way that doesn't feel irresponsible. So I'm not, hoarding 50 of these things, but I can keep, 5 to 7 of these at any point in time and kind of be cycling in and out. Like I brought a 15300 that I love. I went with the 15300 because something about a 15202 or a 16202 just feels kind of fragile from an everyday wear perspective, but I love the 39 millimeter case size. They made it in a 39 millimeter case size. And so it doesn't fit like the 41s. It's way better. The market doesn't tend to care about it very much. So you can get them for under what the retail of a 15510 is. It's better case size. And other than that, it's a modern Royal Oak. And so I'm obsessed with this model. But as I've been wearing it, 14790, which is the like 36 millimeter early 2000s iteration of the Royal Oak, because it's thinner than a 15202 jumbo. And it's just like, I think the sexiest. I have a couple weddings this summer in Italy. And I'm like, I'm going to be in a suit and like, I want a Royal Oak that can fit under a cuff. And so I
Yeah.
think as I'm getting like more deeper and into it and getting more exposure, I find myself wanting older things that are cooler proportions, slimmer. And so that's kind of where I'm at from a collecting journey perspective right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, you're in this position where like you can really dial it to be like exactly where you want the proportions, the
I think
case, the size.
I started it being like, I want the thing that everyone else wants. Like I want everyone to know that I have the cool thing. And like I got into watches in a way where it was like I was obsessed with these things. And then the logical decision was to buy a Daytona or like to buy a Submariner because like those are the watches that everyone wants, or like buy a Royal Oak or try to get on the wait list to get an Aquanaut or like all those things. And then
Sure.
now I think that's the surface level that I fell into for a lot of years. And now I'm starting to like dive deeper and say like, okay, I know I want a Royal Oak in my collection. Do I need two? Maybe, but probably not. Like I'm actually more infatuated with the bracelet than I am anything about the Royal Oak. And then it's like case size, like let's dial it in. Like let's experience a
Yeah.
37, let's experience a 41, let's experience a chrono. That's too thick. I don't like that. Let's try the 39. Actually, it's pretty sweet spot. I like it. Put a 36 on and realize like I would have never thought a 36 millimeter Royal Oak was like my sweet spot. And I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Perfect. And that
Right.
specific reference has a million crazy dial combinations that like don't exist in any
Yeah.
other Royal Oak. So now I'm hooked and I need to like play that through. And once I play that through, I'm sure I'll decide that, I find some other reason to move to a different one.
Yeah. 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 It's I don't know why, but this is making me think like if I could go back in time and tell like high school me one thing, or even middle school me, like one piece of advice, it would be like stop giving a shit about what other people think. And that like for this it totally matches to watches, because you should at the end of the day get the watch that you want. It's not about what other people want. Where I was actually my last episode with a guy named Carlos Williams, we were talking about that. We went pretty deep on that topic too. It's like if you love the watch, buy the watch. Don't listen to the noise, or like you see the Instagram post, or you whatever it is,
Completely.
you know.
And I think that's true of like anything that is inherently expressive, right? And I think watches are in many ways a mechanism for people to like accessorize their personality, express themselves. It's an amazing hobby because sure, these are really valuable objects and they're super mechanical and you can really nerd out on that and you can connect with other people about that. But
Totally.
for all intent and purposes, it's like I'm collecting these things because I think it says something about me. And so as you start to learn more about watches, I think to your point, you start to decrease the delta between your actual personality and your ability to use watches to express that, right? And so I think I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting closer and closer with every watch I buy, hopefully.
Yeah, it's like a long spiritual journey that we're both basically on right now.
Yeah, I'm sure someone that doesn't care about watches hears us talking about this and is like, this is the silliest way to describe an object you put on your wrist.
Probably. I hope they never find this podcast
Yeah.
now. I got a question for you, Quaid. Did you mention the watch that's never leaving your collection? And
Yeah.
then which one was that?
I brought it. It's the Hulk.
It w Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I
The Hulk.
The
Love
reason for
it.
this, I had owned like these 6.0s, like no date subs prior to this watch. But this was like in many ways what I viewed as my first foray into the secondary market. And it was still available at retail at the time. I think it was probably like $7,500 at retail. And the secondary market value was maybe like 11 or 12. And so it felt insane to buy it in the secondary market to me. Like, I felt like I was getting like, something thrown past me from an intellect perspective. Like, I felt like I was being
Yeah.
tricked. And I was obsessed with the watch because of two things. One, I like to surf like most mornings. I like to be like really, I used to always try to live by the beach. Like I have a very aquatic lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I wanted a sub, and there was something cool about the full green that like just didn't take itself very seriously, and I was obsessed with it. And so the reason why I won't ever sell it is the experience of trying to buy it on the secondary market is ultimately what made me want to start the company. And so it was like my prized possession when we were in the process,
Yeah.
like raising capital and like putting the initial code together. And it's in all the initial marketing collateral. The bezel green, it's hard to say is not slightly inspired by the fact that I was wearing a Hulk and obsessed with the color at the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm hyper superstitious, and I would never let it leave my collection, both from a sentimental perspective, but I also like we're crushing it right now. And I have this like weird narrative in my brain that if I got rid of this watch, like everything would go south or something. So it's sticking around whether I like it or not at this stage.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, I love the Hulk. I'll never forget the first time I saw one in person. It was, man, like probably 10 years ago now. I was at Cox Automotive. They were doing a hackathon. I was there with my company sponsoring it, and they were using our technology.
Uh-huh.
And so we were at their campuses actually in Atlanta before I even lived here. And this I saw one of the like engineers or engineering managers wearing the Hulk, and I was just like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
That's just incredible. And I love Rolex does the green, one of the best greens in the game. I have the Rolex date just the palm motif
Oh, I love it.
dial.
Obsessed with that watch.
That thing is one of my favorite watches ever. And it's like half sunburst, half this glossy green. So it's not the full sunburst like the Hulk, but in my own special way, it's kind of like this is my Hulk in a
Yeah, I
sense.
think I love like I have two types of watches, I guess. One are like very like I like the white dial Royal Oaks. Like it matches my I don't like the blue dials as much. Like it matches my aesthetic better. Like very like kind of boring. And then I also have a few of this like I call them like silly watches, like in a good way. Like like if you're wearing a palm dial, they just like you're a fun guy. Like it's like you're not taking yourself too seriously. You're not like overthinking this. I feel the same way about the Hulk. One thing I think Rolex does so exceedingly well, and I feel like this about the Hulk. I feel like this about the palm dial. I feel like this about like the Platinum Daytona. Like they're so good at subtleties, and nothing ever feels too much. There's maybe like a couple Rolexes that you could say feel too much, and it's largely like,
The celebration dial. I
yeah,
actually still people shit on that watch all the time. I think that dial is actually amazing, and I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of it.
But
And I will tell,
it's like
and I will
it's
fight
kind of like
anyone.
the celebration dial to me is like, who fucking wears this? But you're like, that's cool. There's something cool about that. Like, who is this person
Yes,
that thinks that this is cool? And
it
and like,
is
it's awesome.
whimsical.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
artwork. It is like effervescent,
Yeah,
right? Totally,
yeah.
totally. Yeah,
So
I
I think
couldn't agree more.
that's something that Rolex is quite good at, where it's like I always tell people if they look at something and they're like, "Isn't that kind of loud?" My answer is always like, "Look at it though, and like feel it, and the proportions are always so great." And the Hulk for me, it's like I like that if I wear this at night, the dial looks black almost. It's pretty subtle, but if you wear this in the right sunlight, it goes crazy and it's like the brightest green you've ever seen. And I think
Yeah.
um I don't know. I think the variability in how it can be styled and worn is just super fun. So I love it. I wish I wish it was the proportions of the older subs. I think it's like it's just chunky wearing it now. And
Yeah.
funny enough, like this is maybe a pretentious comment, but I bought it to be used the way that a sub should be used. Like I bought the Hulk to surf in and to wear to the beach, and I would be lying if I said that the like value of it going up and the demand of it going up post discontinuation like hasn't clouded my brain and how I use it. And so I feel like I baby it now, and I treat it like the way I treat like Daytonas in my collection or things like that from a Rolex perspective, where it's like, oh, it's the watch I wear like to look like I know something about watches, or it's the watch that I wear to like go to dinner when I really wanted it to do what I treat this Submariner to do, which is like I woke up this morning, I ran a bunch of miles in it, I jumped in the ocean, I worked out, and I came here and I haven't taken it off. And I think there's something so cool about that. And I think about like
Yeah.
my dad didn't collect watches, but if he did and I was given one of the watches that he had, I would much rather he give me the watch that like he beat to shit and like used every day and like had all these crazy experiences with than the watch that he babied. And I have a
Right.
tendency to just like wear them till the wheels fall off kind of perspective on watches. And I don't know, the Hulk like want to do that, but it's like too expensive to do it the tool watch way. I think you should.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think one of my mottos is like watches are meant to be worn.
Totally agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of them, for example, like I can't go diving in my Calatrava. Can't
Yeah.
really. I probably shouldn't wear that one to like Orange Theory.
Yeah.
But I've got other watches that I can absolutely go and use those for. So that's
Yeah.
where I think kind of having in a collection like some of the use cases, right, that you can just be prepared for and you can wear it. I've got my travel watches.
Yeah.
I've got watches where I wear them in the water. I've got the watches I wear when I'm playing tennis.
Yeah.
I've got the formal ones.
No,
I think you gotta, like, tick some of those boxes, but
and
if,
I've
yeah.
had some close calls. Like in August, I was in Oahu for a wedding and there happened to be like a good swell. So there's decent sized waves and I was surfing and I was wearing like, this is why I'm obsessed with this watch. I didn't bring any other watches, formal wedding, but in Hawaii. And so flew on the plane with this watch, brought my board bag, threw the bag down at the hotel, went straight in the water, got a session in, like went to the gym and then like put on cocktail attire and went to and then like slept in the water. Didn't take it off for like 72 hours in Hawaii. And I feel like James Bond when I do that. And there's something like
Yeah.
so cool about that. But I was surfing in this and the clasp came undone and I like was getting tumbled around and I caught it. It slid off my wrist and like just caught on my fingers.
Oh my
And
god.
this is like a $8,000 to $10,000 scenario. That's a lot of money to just have be at the bottom of the ocean, but it's certainly better than a $20,000 to $30,000 Submariner. And so I think it's a terrible game to be playing, but if I'm going to be taking the risk, I'd rather do it on this one. And I just think the proportions are better. It's more usable if you're going to be doing things with your hands or swimming or whatever.
Well, okay, so how often do you exchange watches and, like, where when do you get in that headspace where you're like, "Alright, I'm gonna open up Bezel and I'm gonna make a swap. Maybe I'm gonna sell something, maybe I'm gonna buy something." Does it involve cocktails? Do you have a clear mind? Where are you on this spectrum, Quaid?
Yeah, I don't know if I've had a clear mind in 5 years, so I think we've been working through that. Startups are tough, but I'm kind of constantly looking. I'm obsessed for a reason. The reason we left our last job and started this is because we're obsessed, and so, um, auctions has become really dangerous for me, and so almost like half of our business now is auctions. We've been, like, meaningfully scaling up auctions. We're on pace to do, like, a little under 3,000 auctions this month. And so it's like a pretty exceedingly high number of like cool
Wow.
things that come through auction. And the fun thing about auctions is like there's such variability in the discovery process. I don't know what I'm going to see tomorrow. There's drops that happen every day. And they tend to end at like pretty attractive prices. And so I think I'm constantly waking up and seeing what's at auction. And I have like from a legalities perspective, I'm not allowed to see what the reserves are. So I can bid on them. Like I've set it up the system up intentionally. So I am like completely impartial and I'm allowed to bid on
Yeah,
these. It's so important
right.
to me because I want
You have to be able to drink your own champagne.
exactly.
Otherwise, why even
What do we
bother?
do it?
Close
Yeah,
the doors, sell the thing, be done with it so you can use
exactly.
it. Like, you gotta have fun with the toys.
Exactly. So I would say like I'm kind of constantly trading in and out of things from there. And so, yeah, I don't like to have like more than 5 to 7 things at any point in time in the collection, but I like to keep around 5 things at any point in time in the collection, I guess. And so we kind of are constantly swapping it out. Like, and it's random stuff. Like I just sold a yellow gold Jules Audemars, like an old AP, I think it's like a 34 millimeter like proper dress watch.
Yeah.
And so I just think that like a Calatrava in that sizing is like a, $15 to $20,000 watch. For some reason, these APs, which is like arguably just as prestigious of a brand, these APs are $5 to $10,000 for some reason. Like no one cares about them. And one won an auction, and like someone for some reason was not interested in it, and like I picked it up for $4,000 or something, wore it for 6 months, had a like my little like Miami Vice moment with like a small gold watch on my wrist and had fun with it. And then sold it last week and, made $1,000. And it's so fun to do that. And so right now, like this P that I've had for 2 years, 3 years, I want a 14790, like the 36 millimeter. And so, I'll put it at auction and see what I can get for it. And then I'll take the payment for that and I'll put it straight into 36 or maybe some other fun stuff or whatever it is. And so I think that's a fun way of collecting when you're the one funding your entire collection. It's just like I have this privileged position where these are just like gifts to myself right now. The only one that like is so sentimental is the Hulk right now. So everything else is for sale or
Fair game. Everything has a price. See, this is actually an area where we differ. So I have never sold a watch that I've bought to this point.
yeah.
And I have about 10 in the collection. And so I reached this point where I think it was around number 8 where I was like, I have every use case. Like at this point, I'm just buying watches because I want to add watches. And so I've actually been having this internal debate because I really love getting to wear my watches every week. I don't like one of them going without love.
Yeah.
And so I'd set it up in my watch box. I had a Monday through Sunday watch, and then I'd usually I have an Hermes H08 that like anytime I'd go and do like a sport or something, like that's the watch that I use, rubber
I think
strap,
it's
things
such an
perfect.
underappreciated watch. Like I think it's like such a cool looking watch.
Yeah, I actually used to be the biggest stickler for any like non-true watch brand making a watch.
Yeah.
I always gave like some exception to Cartier, but I was like, they're the only ones. Like
Yeah.
they're the only ones who have really crossed that chasm. And then I was looking for an all black, complete, under the radar watch that I could travel with anywhere in the world where no one would know, yet it feels, functions, looks every bit of like a top-notch luxury watch. And
Totally.
tons of research later consuming all the data, all the videos, I like found this watch and like completely fell in love with it. And now I actually have a number of friends who've picked them up as well in like different colorways and stuff. But yeah, it's such a workhorse
Yeah,
of a
from a
watch.
value perspective on a rubber strap, kind of aquanauty, cool colors. Yeah, I think it's a very fun summertime beachy activity watch for sure.
Yeah. Well, Quaid, this was such a pleasure, man. I really appreciate you taking some time coming
Likewise.
on the show. This was very fun. And I love learning about you, your taste in watches, what you're doing with the platform. Like, it's all super exciting. And I am absolutely rooting for you and Bezel. But before we go, is there anything else that you want to share with my viewers that maybe we didn't cover?
No, I think we got it all. I think for the viewers, if you guys have any questions about the platform, shoot us a note, find me. If you want to buy a watch, reach out to your concierge, download the app, whatever we can do, we're here to be helpful. So always excited to get people's watches and get closer to that TAM of every wrist in the world.
There we go. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much to everyone who's giving this a watch and a listen. Please like and subscribe. It would mean the world.